You?
No, I didn't know. So after the fight had happened, we in the locker room. I think I had just finished changing up. We on the way to the post press or whatever. My father said, "You know, he tried to bite you in there." I said, "What?" I'm like, "It's no like if you in the ring with somebody, so you're gonna notice that."
But wow, my eyes was burning, and you know, like you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather take the knee than But I didn't really know that you can like get disqualified for all that. Or like when you start counting, I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know.
Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis now have their rematch begun after they had their first physical encounter ahead of their rematch, and fired shots have been all over the meeting. The pair met to finalize details regarding their rematch and also had a brief meeting with the press where they both sat and took turns to answer to an interviewer. Eventually, that proved to be a great risk as Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach fired shots endlessly at each other.
That's when he tried biting me. I ain't even noticed that till somebody said something. Somebody said he tried to bite me. I ain't know this.
I know. What you talking about? They like, they ain't gonna give it to you. I said, oh, is that right? So, that's how boxing works.
They didn't come close to a fight, but the trash talking was crazy. One of the things Lamont Roach kept stressing was the fact that he was very much different from others, and as a result, Gervonta shouldn't talk too much about defeating him. On the other hand, Tank kept saying it was a bad day in office, and come their return, Lamont Roach would be knocked out cold. This forced Lamont to wish him the same thing, saying, "It's going to be a battle, I'd break you down." Since the fight ended, Roach has made several appearances on Big Time Podcast to discuss the fight and keep his narrative that he should have been victorious rather than the fight being ruled a majority draw circulating.
Talking about it.
Oh, whoa. Oh, it's another comparison I don't want to make to Mike Tyson.
Nah, that's crazy. That's what he do. He get dirty.
Which has kept the talk around their likely rematch alive. Roach has also been busy on social media, and on March 18th, he sent out one post that seems to have irked Tank's fan group, which is likely exactly what Roach was trying to do on some real stuff. Why? Are some of you mad because a lot of people think I won the fight? I'm confused. Gang, what's going on? Did I do something to you guys? He wrote on X in a post that has over 1,500 views and 425 comments in less than 2 days.
I didn't know. So after the fight had happened, we in the locker room. I think I had just finished changing up. We on the way to the post press or whatever. My father said, "You know, he tried to bite you in there." I said, "What?" I'm like, it's no like if you in the ring with somebody, so you're gonna notice.
This seems like a classic case of a fighter trying to bait an opponent's fan base to drum up interest in a fight. And given the post's engagement and the fact that the post's comment section is full of Davis fans, the post has done its job. Speaking on the Come and Talk to Me show, Roach disclosed details of how he attempted to call Tank after the fight, following a bet that had supposedly been made between the fighters before the contest. "Look, man, I'm going to tell you I called his phone. He must have changed his number or something. I didn't get no answer. Maybe he's on his thing right now. I called him and then I DM'd him and told him I called you. Call me back." I didn't necessarily talk about the money, but I just told him, call me back. Gervonta Davis held on to his World Boxing Association lightweight.
So Lamont, I watched your feedback. You broke it down round by round. There was this one part in this video that was kind of going viral the other day where you said it looked like Tank was trying to bite you. Yeah. I'm like, what was that? Like, did you notice that in the moment? I saw you said that in your, in your feedback. What was that moment?
Titled by the narrowest of gaps on Saturday night, fighting to a majority draw with Lamont Roach Jr. Despite a highly controversial moment in the 9th round that should have saddled Davis with the first defeat of his career, the unbeaten 30-year-old southpaw, nicknamed Tank, could finally breathe a sigh of relief when the final scores were announced, following a tightly wound 12-round affair full of two-way action. One ringside judge gave the bout 15-1-13 for Davis, while the other two had it level at 114-114, ensuring the three-weight champion from Baltimore remained without a loss. The key talking point came in the 9th when Davis voluntarily took a knee near his corner before leaning over the ropes seemingly in search of assistance to clear an issue with his eye.
Judge at the ringside, Eric Marlinsky scores it on 115 to 113 in favor of Gervonta Davis. Judges Steve Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scored about 114 to 114, even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
Under the unified rules of boxing, a fighter touching the canvas with anything other than their feet is considered a knockdown, which would have cost Davis a point, if not an outright disqualification for the corner's interference in the middle of a round. But referee Steve Willis simply allowed Davis to continue after a stern warning, a choice that almost certainly altered the result. A sold-out crowd of 19,250 at the Barclays Center made their feelings known when Davis later claimed his vision was hindered by grease from his hair. It should have been a knockdown. Roach said, "If that was a knockdown, I would have won the fight." He's saying grease got in his eye, but if he takes a knee and the ref starts counting, it should be a knockdown. It is what it is. I'm not banking on that knockdown to win. I just thought I pulled. I tout. Granted special permission to keep his WBA title at 130 LTLB while taking on Davis at 135.
Bite you, like, cause we right there. But when I actually went back and looked at the fight, I was like, this motherfucker really did try to bite me. Like, that's what it, at least that's what it looked like. You can ask him, or you can, if you play the clip and you look at it, it definitely looked like he just tried to bite me and missed or some shit. Like, oh, bit his.
Roach came up just short in his bid to claim a world title in a second weight class against an opponent who went off as a vertiginous 1-20 favorite. Gervonta Davis takes a knee in the middle of round 9 during Saturday's fight with Lamont Roach Jr. I think I pulled it out in the last 3 rounds. For sure, Davis said I was hitting him with some clean shots. I felt I was breaking him down as the rounds were going on, but he kept coming, so I didn't want to make mistakes, and I kept it careful from the opening bell. Roach showed no fear of the heavily favored hero. The 29-year-old from Washington, D.C. stayed composed in the opening stages, using his movement and punching to keep his opponent from settling into a rhythm. Davis, a notoriously slow starter, spent the first few rounds exploring, but his usual patience bordered on inactivity. Roach took advantage, striking sharp right hands and winning most of the early exchanges.
I don't know, but that was crazy. So when he told me that, I was like, nah, he ain't trying to bite me. Y'all tripping. But when I looked at it, I was like, damn, they tried. And then even
trying to bite you where? Pause.
On his neck.
like
you seen
my
it?
neck,
Yeah.
like ear.
I didn't notice. I seen him hit you with a shoulder one time.
He tried to put his glove up. He tried.
The familiarity between the old amateur rivals seemed to benefit Roach, who looked more poised and comfortable even as Davis began to turn up the pressure in the middle rounds. Concussive right hand in the 6th signaled the champion's waking, but Roach took it well and stood his ground. In the 7th, he stunned Davis with a straight right, causing the champion to tie up. The challenger, operating with supreme confidence, began dictating the pace and throwing more punches in combination, turning what many expected to be a one-sided fight into a tooth-and-nail scrap. The 8th round saw Roach land a massive counter right uppercut that briefly wobbled, Davis proving he could take the champ's best shots and fire back. Then came the 9th, when debate struck. After absorbing a left hand from Roach that didn't seem to hit with full impact, Davis took knee. Whether from fatigue, misplacement of his mouthpiece, or something else, it was a moment that should have been called a knockdown.
And you see his face on.
Like,
Oh, niggas wild.
nah, it was crazy.
Oh, niggas.
It was crazy.
Did you see that, Naj, too? You seen that?
Yeah, I didn't see it in the moment, but when I looked at the replay, I'm like, damn, this vampire in Brooklyn right now. That's a little suspect.
I think the commentator said something about
Yeah,
that.
they said something about it too. Like, they was like, here's another comparison that Mike Tyson.
Instead, the 3rd man, Willis, gave only a warning, giving Davis a chance to recover. Fueled by frustration, Davis came out swinging, unleashing bombs, but Roach absorbed them and kept pushing forward. By the championship rounds, Davis was lunging, throwing wild shots that Roach cleverly countered. In the 11th, Roach sealed the round with a crisp counter right, outworking a clearly frustrated Davis. With 3 minutes left, Davis, known for his late fight heroics, tried once more to bait Roach into a mistake, but Roach wouldn't bite. He stuck to his game plan, making Davis miss and hitting just enough to keep control. Both men called for a rematch in the immediate wake. "I want to run it back for sure," said Roach, who landed 112 of 400 shots, 28%. According to CompuBox's punch data, compared to 103 of 279 for Davis, 369%. "I'll be back on the big stage again where I belong," Davis said that it was his own substandard performance that made the fight close rather than anything Roach brought to Theatable.
You know, that's how boxing works. I'm not, like, totally upset. I figured with a superstar, you won't get too much on paper. But, shit, I damn sure thought I had it. Especially when they announced the score for him. I was like, oh, they gonna give me a...
"To be honest, I really made it tough," Davis said. "For sure, Lamont is a great fighter. He's got these skills. He's got punching power." It was a learned lesson. Shout out to Lamont Roach and his whole team. Hopefully we can run it back. A rematch between Davis and Roach looks set to take place following the events of the first encounter between the pair, with an official announcement due to take place in the coming weeks. It has been reported that the fight will happen in either May or June. The New York State Athletic Commission upheld the Gervonta Davis-Lamont Roach result, which ended in a majority draw after a controversial 9th round, according to a ruling obtained by ESPN on Friday. In the ruling, the commission said Roach's protest was denied because the bout continued for more than 3 full rounds after the referee's no knockdown call, and because the boxers necessarily adjusted to the referee's ruling. The referee's call was not outcome determinative.
Because I heard that 114, I was just like, damn, all right, it's over with. So, yeah, man, it's just crazy. I ain't gonna lie. It's okay. We gonna run it back. It's okay.
Davis, one of boxing's top stars, took a knee in round 9 after a series of Roach punches that landed. Referee Steve Willis started to count, but when he hit 3, he stopped and didn't rule it a knockdown. The commission's decision stated that following a thorough after-act review of the footage of the 9th round, the most appropriate call would have been for the referee to determine that Mr. Davis's knee hitting the canvas constituted a knockdown. However, the determination of whether a knockdown occurred in that instance was within the discretion and authority of the referee. The ruling also observed that if a knockdown was called, it would be impossible to know if the final 3 rounds would have remained the same. Such conjecture would be misplaced, and setting such a precedent is not viewed by the commission as guaranteeing a correct outcome retroactively or as in keeping with the best interest of boxing. The finding said if Willis called a knockdown, Roach would have won via decision. Instead, the WBA junior lightweight champion settled for a draw as he attempted to become a 2-weight champion in what would have marked a shocking upset. Davis was a minus 20,000 favorite per ESPN bet. Lamont and his team stayed disappointed by the announced outcome.
The part with the grease in the eye, that took on a life of its own, you know what I'm saying? That was a headline in the fight. One is, what did you think when he said that initially, just like the grease in the eye? But 2 is like, when you was in the fight, was there any point that you saw that? Like, did you see like him kind of messing with his eye, or did you have any indication that that was something that was bothering him?
No, see, and that's the thing. If you look at the whole fight, he was never bothering his eyes before
you jabbed him.
Before I jabbed him. Even that.
And the lack of action by the commission, but grateful for the support of the boxing public. Roach's attorney, Gregory M. Smith, told ESPN, Lamont is sure that a rematch will end with a victory. But until then, he is the people's king. At 135, Davis of Baltimore said after the bout that the reason he took a knee was because grease from a hair treatment Thursday burned his eyes. Davis was also allowed to have his corner wipe his eyes with a towel, which is prohibited during the round. Only the referee has the power to halt the action. Davis's in-ring IQ is highly underrated. We've seen him download data during the early rounds, against other opponents, but he looked as though he never found his rhythm against Roach. After the fight, Roach had no shortage of supporters. Roach's friend and Davis's rival Shakur Stevenson praised Roach's performance and even offered to be his next opponent. While that fight makes sense, I'd prefer to see Davis face Roach. That is the fight fans want to see most, especially after Roach made us wonder if Davis was truly unbeatable. Roach, a former amateur rival of Davis, deserved to be the main story after handing Tank a -1-600 betting favorite, the first blemish of his professional career in their controversial majority draw inside Barclays Center. The commission said Monday it requested video replay, but a technical problem prevented it in the allotted time. The 29-year-old Roach of Washington, D.C. stays the WBA title holder at 130 LEs. Roach is ranked number 6 by ESPN at lightweight.davis30, is ESPN's #1 lightweight and number 8 pound-for-pound boxer. The highly anticipated rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach has captured the attention of the boxing world, and Ryan Garcia, who has first-hand experience with Davis, has shared his view on the outcome. Garcia, who faced Davis in April 2023 and suffered a 7th-round TKO loss, is closely following the trajectory of both fighters. It was meant to be another routine night at the pugilistic office for Gervonta Davis and company on the night. The moment his showdown against Lamont Roach was announced, Team Davis never looked concerned or unnerved. Roach was a familiar face.
And shit or nothing like that. But like, he wiped his face with a towel. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't do none of that.
Right.
That's a disqualification. You turned your back on the ref after you took a knee. Usually the ref will be like, all right, he don't want to fight no more. Fight.
I don't like knockouts. I like punishment. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes things got to happen to make you get back to where you belong at. You know what I'm saying? And that was a good, skillful ass.
To a split decision win for Lamont Roach. He was robbed. The knee hitting the canvas should be a knockdown. The face getting wiped should be a DQ. They didn't use replay apparently, and we're going to talk to Keith Eidig about all this, but there is replay in New York, and a fight that was kind of viewed as an afterthought would now be a gigantic rematch and one of the biggest upsets of the past, 10, 15 years, 16-1 is gigantic.
And had a more than respectable record. And while he did hold Attittle, he was considered the smaller man. Viewed as a big underdog, Roach fought like a man with something to prove. From the beginning, he boxed beautifully from the outside. When Davis forced him to abandon the jab and fight on the inside, he had no problem. By the time the final bell rang, fans inside of Brooklyn's Barclays Center stood dumbfounded. Although they enjoyed 36 minutes of pure violence, they were unsure who would be given the victory. As the scores were slowly being tallied, Team Davis quietly waited. In the end, the grins that were etched upon their faces were finally wiped away, as their man was forced to settle for a majority decision. Raw. For the first time in his pro career, Davis walked out of a ring without a recognized win. As he slunk into his chair backstage, his team, including Barry Hunter, shook their heads in disapproval at the choice. The first fight between Davis and Roach, held in March, was a closely contested battle that caused intense debate over the judge's decision. With the rematch on the horizon, Ryan Garcia has not hesitated to share his opinion, adding even more excitement to the upcoming clash. The first meeting between Gervonta "Tank" Davis and Lamont Roach was far from a walk in the park for Davis. Roach showed to be a formidable opponent, taking the fight to 12 rounds and challenging Davis in every round. One particularly controversial moment happened in the 9th round when Davis voluntarily took a knee, but the referee did not perform the count. The judge's decision, with 1 card in favor of Davis and 2 cards, reflected the parity of the fight. The failure to count the 9th round as a 10-8 in favor of Roach deprived him of the opportunity to be crowned the new WBA lightweight champion. Now, with the rematch scheduled for this summer, expectations are sky high. In an interview with ES News, Ryan Garcia shared his opinion for Thermatch. Garcia's view: based on his own experience with Davis, adds a layer of intrigue to their matchup. He thinks that Davis underestimated Roach in their first meeting and will show a higher level of intensity and determination in their match. And that's all for now. 4. The very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing. Stay connected with us by following to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get informed when we drop quality contents like this.